Welcome back to the Keys to Success podcast. I feel like it's been forever since I've been on here. I've missed you guys. How are you? How is the world?
We've missed you. I've been trying to hold it down for the last 2 weeks, but I'm so happy to see your beautiful smiling face.
Deba, you've been holding it down. Ain't no trying. You have been holding it down. I actually talked to somebody today, and one of the podcast episodes that you did with one of our guests by yourself, they said that they really, really enjoyed it. I forget the name. I'm so sorry. But anyways, without further ado, this is your host, Tilisa Stubbs. And of course, I have my beautiful co-host and friend, Deba Douglas. What is going on, girl?
Nothing really. I'm gonna be honest with you. I am really excited about our title today because we are focusing on finishing 2023 strong. And I want to just kind of take a moment and think about we just had one of the most monumental weekends, and we spent the weekend together in Dallas at Woman Evolve conference. And when I tell y'all, like I talk about God all the time, Talisa talks about God all the time, but it was one of those moments that were life changing and really put our mindset in the focus of, okay, what do we really want God to do in our lives, and what are we not afraid to ask God to do, because we know it's going to be bigger and better than it's ever been before.
Girl, yeah, you guys, Woman Evolve Conference was, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know what to expect. I don't think Deba or myself knew exactly what to expect. We just both knew that we needed to be in the room to receive whatever it was that God was gonna be putting out in that room. And I know for me, there were just so many um, powerful women who just showed up so unapologetically them, so just authentically just who they were. And it just kind of gave me sort of like this, I don't know if it was like a stamp of approval or whatever, that I can really be out here in these streets just being myself.
Yes, yes. Okay, so for our the podcast today, because we can go on and on about how great the conference was. I think we should share, and you tell me, share three things that we learned from the podcast. I mean, learned from the conference that is going to pivot and help us finish strong for 2023. And we'll just go
Ooh,
back and forth and ping pong.
I love that. I love that. You go first, Deb. I'm excited. You go first.
Okay, so one of the things that during the conference, it was a 3-day conference. And for those of you that may not know, like, what are we even talking about? Women Evolve. So, Sarah Jakes Roberts, she is TD Jakes' daughter. She has taken over Woman Thou Art Loose to now be Woman Evolve. And so, she spent the 3 days at Globe Life Theater, or what is it, Globe Life Park,
Yeah.
and we had over 40,000 women in the building. And she took time to be very intentional with who she was bringing to share God's greatness, God's word, and everything about God. And one of the things I took, that she had one of the guest speakers, her name was Dr. Anita Phillips. And she is also a prophet as well as a therapist. And she talked a little bit about what stories are you telling yourself, and what stories are you telling yourself about God. And what she really had me think about is, what stories am I telling myself about my business? Like sometimes, because I feel like I've been very successful at a very quick, short turnaround time, I sometimes have to hear myself and like self positive talk to myself, because myself will say, man, I think this was luck, or man, like it's been so good. Maybe this is as good as it's going to get. And then I kind of like pull myself back and say, well, I know I want to do more, but then I don't, because the self-talk in my head is saying, you're good. Like it's okay to be content. It's okay. Like things are really good. Your team is really solid. But in the moment and throughout the weekend, it's like I kept hearing God to say, like, now adjust your crown. You are where you are, but there's so many other lives I need you to touch. There's
Mm.
so many more people I need you to change. You're changing, yes, your little community in Garland, but there's areas that I need you to really be impactful for the next generation.
Ooh. Deba, that was powerful because for a couple of reasons. When we talk about getting past those belief systems that this is just it for us. I want to highlight the fact that there were 40,000 women in this building. And one of the things that I can say that I truly got from the conference was the fact that Sarah, although Sarah is the daughter of TD Jakes, you would imagine that a production of this capacity wouldn't be a thing for somebody like this. But to know that even somebody like them, to have a room full of 40,000 people, that they weren't expecting the financial budget that they had gotten. Sarah talked about them having a $3 million deposit that she wasn't expecting, but it never stopped them from continuing to pursue this production. They just had to rely on God that much more, to where sponsors started to show up and other funds started to show up, to where they were able to come together and put together this event for all of us women to come. And it's like not one detail was like missed. Everything looked extravagant. Everything was about that, guys. It just goes to show you that if you have a dream, even if you don't know where you're going to get the money from, even if you don't know where you're going to get the team from, if you've got a dream, you've got to start putting things into action even before you have it all figured out, right? Because God will meet you the other part of the way. So by just taking those action steps, by saying, you know what, I'm going to host this event, I'm going to go ahead and just call the venue and put down this deposit. I'm going to go ahead and reserve it. Who knows how you're going to find the money, but just trusting that God is going to provide. It was just like it was powerful. It was really, really powerful.
Yeah. And I just to piggyback on that, my second thing was the expectancy. Like you're mentioning, like she was just like, I prayed, God told me this is what we need to do. And she did it. She started moving the pieces and started making action steps to be where she's at. She even talked about, in a very laughing manner, like she was like, I didn't know I had to buy screens because normally my venue is in the church. So I'm getting on Amazon to be like, okay, how do I buy these screens? But it's one of those, like, once you start moving and putting that into the expectancy, God will start making things happen. He'll start connecting you with the right person and start doing things with you with that level of expectancy of like, let God do what he does. And I'm going to take that into my 2023. I think
Mhm.
sometimes I'm very OCD. I'm very like, I want to know what steps I need to go through every way. I need to know where step Z is, but I'm on step A. But I need to see what step Z looks like. And I think
Right.
lately I've been really caught up in like, well, I need to know what the end looks like. And God, I think, has been telling me, like, just trust me on today. I'm going to give you enough grace for today. Don't worry about what's going to go on tomorrow. Don't worry about what's going to go on 3 weeks from now. Just trust me on today. So, and I'm going to be honest with you guys that are listening. I have some really, really crazy, crazy, crazy goals that I want to meet for 2024. But I feel like I'm already having to put those things in place today. Like, I would like to be a multi-million dollar luxury custom builder. I really would love to do that. And so I'm learning how to build. Shout out to my boy Royce that's helping me learn to build. And we're slowly working through that on a house in Fort Worth. That house in Fort Worth, I am building it. And I'll be honest with you with number wise, I'm building it for close to $200,000. The ARV for that house should be close to 350. But being able to do something on a smaller scale that is going to teach me how to do the build so that I can then go build a house that we have a lot in Lucas, we have a lot in Rockwall. But even when I was buying these lots, I didn't even know what I was going to do with them. But I'm
See.
like, I'm trusting God and expecting him to show me exactly how to do it and connecting me with the right people, because now not only am I using Royce, I've already connected with like 3 or 4 other builders that I'm able to just get different references and different point of view from. That it is scary, but God continues to give you enough right when you need it.
Right when you need it. And I know that I've experienced this on numerous occasions, where you just kind of feel like you're missing something in your business, whether it be somebody, a person to come in and help, or you're missing a software system or whatever it is. The moment that you give that to God and say, you know what, God, and it's like some people, I think that we forget like who God is. Like we're like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't go to God with like, I need a software system. Yes, you can, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because you go to him with those things, and then all of a sudden you're having a conversation with somebody and they're telling you about a software system that they use that is something that you need for your business, and all of a sudden God is giving you exactly what you need, even though you didn't have it before. And so what Deba is saying right now is so true. Whatever that thing is in your life, whatever that thing is that you're uncertain about, give it to God and watch him provide. The pieces will fall into place, but don't allow it to make you become stagnant by
Mhm.
waiting around, because we can't wait around. We can't wait on God to perform whatever miracles he's going to do. We have to put in the action steps every single day, and then God's going to come in and meet us where we are. And so I love the fact that you said that, Deba. Oh, is it my turn or is it your turn, Deb? I
It's
can't
your
remember.
turn. It's
Is
your
it my
turn. You
turn?
go.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, there were so many really good points, but one of the things that I wanted to highlight was um, there's actually two things. First of all, is take the time that you need. One of the things that I heard Dr. Anita say was to take the time that we need to heal the heart, because one thing that she related the heart to was soil. And she was saying that when seeds are planted on the soil, whether that be the blessings that God sprinkles onto your life, when they hit that soil, when they hit your heart, that's going to produce a fruit. And depending on the condition of your heart, will
Mm.
determine the kind of fruit that you produce. And so when I was thinking about that, I was like, okay, so that means that if I've got a lot of envy in my heart, or if I've got a
Mm.
lot of jealousy in my heart, or any of those feelings, God's going to try to bless me. But when those blessings fall on my heart, it's not even going to feel like the blessing that I need it to be, because my heart's not right. And
Right.
so take the time to heal yourself, whether that is going to therapy. I know that in the Black community, there was a big stereotype around going to therapy and seeking somebody else's counsel. But unless you talk to somebody about some of those issues, you never talk about it, and you never understand why you hold so much resentment, or why you do things out of malice. So it's like,
Yeah.
God's going to bless you, or he's going to continue to try to bless you, but make sure that that heart condition is right. Make sure that that soil is right, so when that them seeds drop, you're fruitful, and the fruit is sweet and it's good and it's juicy, you know?
Yes, that is so good because the soil sets the tone of the entire environment, and it sets the tone of the environment, the culture, the climate. So you really have to have your heart right, especially if you're doing business, because that will show up. That will show up. Sometimes I can be real petty. That stuff show up in my business.
It's
God is still working on me, but there are times I will be petty, and I mean, you may see it in some of my reels because I be having petty moments, but God is still working on me. I'm just keeping it real.
Look, we're just keeping it all the way real, you guys. Because guess what? Neither Deborah nor I are perfect. We are both
No,
working at this thing on a day-to-day basis. So, and it takes us putting an effort and being intentional every single day. So,
yeah,
anyways,
yeah.
Deborah, what else did you get from the conference?
Okay, so I think I shared this with you when we were together, is that I have been in a season where I feel like I'm always overwhelmed, or I feel like, oh, I'm always late, or I just missed that meeting, or I'm on my way to a meeting. And I have been like doing things like my husband's like, okay, maybe we need to go on trips. So we'll go on vacation, thinking that's going to help me like calm my nerves and calm things down, or I'll go get a massage. Lately, I've been like, let me just go get a massage. Let me go do these things. But I think literally it's been, I just need to get back into the word like I was in the very beginning. I need to get back into what God called me to do. It's like I'm running around chasing all these different things of like meditating and like taking walks and having slow moments, when God was like, just come and spend more time with me, because I am God by myself, and I will do all the things that you are worried about, stressed out about, trying to figure out. And I'm gonna tell y'all, it's hard having 3 kids and trying to run a business. And I try to mash everything in from 8 to 5 o'clock. So as soon as my kids get home, they can have at least their mommy. And sometimes it does take a toll on me because as soon as they go to bed, I'm up late working on things. My mentees will be like, dang, like, do you sleep? You know what? Sometimes I don't. And it's starting to take a toll on me. And I think God is just reassuring me, like, you have the solid team, delegate a little bit more. They love what they're doing. They want to see you succeed because they're going to succeed as well. But I think in the moment and just having praise and worship, and there was a praise and worship song that they haven't dropped yet, but I'm going to let y'all know once it drops because I've been on like Apple Music like crazy. And it's called On Time God. And just a couple of the verses was like, on time God, you love to do the impossible. You love to do miracles. As soon as you hear that, when you go back and look back on your life, everything that God has brought you through, it was all impossible. All those moments that you're just like, he came right on time, because if he would have came a second later or a day later, I would not be standing here. And it was just one of those praise and worship songs that you just say, God, I'm so upset that I didn't think of you this big. And why did I think I was that much bigger than you? And just seeing him go through things in our lives makes us really realize, like, he does all the impossible. Everything we done have been through, it's always been impossible, but he always makes it work, and he always makes it out so gracious that you're like, you weaved all this together, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to make this beautiful, beautiful masterpiece.
All of it, all of it. And Debbie, you and I were talking, and I said, I was just thinking of it, like, put it into context. Like, okay, so I love, raising private money. Deba loves, flipping properties. God loves doing miracles. Like, that's what he specializes in. Like, that's his specialty. So anything that you might be thinking of, like, oh my God, that would be impossible, or oh my God, that would be a miracle, those are the things you got to give to God, because that's his focus. That's his specialty. Give those things to him. Half the time, and I'm going to talk about this too, because I'm going to go on to my next thing that I got from this weekend, not necessarily from the conference, but just from this weekend and how I saw God work. And one thing that I kept telling Deborah was like, I'm starting to feel like I'm just flowing with the river. Like, I'm not fighting the current. I'm just kind of going with the flow of things. And what I mean by that is things are going to happen that are outside of your control. Things are going to happen, like for instance, Deb, if you don't mind me talking about it,
Yes.
Deba and I, we're driving around, and Deba's having an issue with her car, and we're thinking, you know what, we can either stress about this situation and call a bunch of people and do all these things and see if we can get another car, or we can just say, you know what, God, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. If we got to get a lift, we're gonna get a lift. If we got it, whatever we got to do to get back to that conference, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
And when we went with the flow, everything happened the way that it was supposed to, and better than we had anticipated. And so anything that you're going through in your life, don't fight it with resistance. And I can talk about this as it pertains to raising private money, for instance. If you find that you're doing a strategy, like you're reaching out to people on LinkedIn and you're trying to find private money lenders there, and you're not getting a response from people, and you feel like you're just being hit with a lot of resistance, well, then maybe it might be time for you to pivot and go with something that's a little bit more with the flow. Maybe that might be you go to real estate events and you're really good at networking, and you just naturally can conversate with people, and you can naturally get people to trust you face to face. Well, if that's your river, if that's where you're flowing, then flow in that direction so that those blessings can come to you easily. Because I feel like when we try to force something to happen that's not supposed to happen, first of all, we get frustrated.
Right.
And second of all, the results that we get from it can sometimes be catastrophic, or we don't get any results at all.
Yeah. Very, very true. And just like Tilisa mentioned, like, my car broke down in the middle of our break. We had like a 2 hour break, and my car was like acting real funny. I had dropped Tilisa off to have lunch with her mom, and I was like, well, let me just go across the street to the dealership. And when I got to the dealership, the guy was like, well, we can look at your car, but we don't have any loaners to give you. So I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? I got to get back to this conference. Like, I have to get back. And the guy was like, well, let me just look at it and let me figure out what I can do. And I just sat there and I waited. I called my husband, told him what was going on, but I was like, I'm just going to figure it out. I don't really have a plan. We just going to see what happens. Literally an hour and a half later, the guy comes to me and he's like, hey, we still don't know what's going on with your car, but I was able to call other dealerships and I got you a loaner. So give me a couple minutes. I'm going to clean the loaner up and the car is going to be good to go. And the car was perfect. I didn't have to put any gas in it. I didn't have to worry about toll tags. They let me keep the car for the entire weekend. And I just got my car back yesterday and they made my car spotless. But I didn't have to stress out about anything. And that is like the flow that Tilisa is talking about, is just really understanding that God is God by himself. He don't need you to be his assistant. He doesn't need you to be like, oh yeah, I need your help. He does it by himself.
All
And
by himself.
and one of the things that the last thing that I took from the entire event was, God is bigger than any fear that you have. He is bigger than even the dream that you have. He's only giving you just a peek of it. And he just wants you to trust that little peek. And I always say it's like a dream that you just see yourself doing something that you're like, I would never be able to do that. There's no way that that's happening. And he just gives you like a little quick spotlight of it. And then you realize when you go into different things and avenues, you're like, I've been here before. I've seen this.
Oh my
And
God.
God gives it to you 10 times more than it could ever be. It's always better than you could ever imagine. It's always sweeter than you could ever imagine. And I'm a living testimony. I used to be a building principal, and that's all I knew was being a principal and knowing education. I went to college to be an educator. So to be sitting up here and have a freaking podcast, to have literally a course that people love and they are literally becoming owners from, and to have such a strong real estate client business, this is nothing that I thought my life would be. And this is all the glory to God. And I know that a lot of people are like, man, she's always giving God the glory, because I can't take this. This is all God's glory. And I
All of
have
it.
no shame in the game to know I know my faults. I know what I bring. I know who I am. But I'm so abundantly blessed and grateful that God chose me. And I don't take it for granted. I'm very intentional about helping everyone that's connected with me, because I always say, if you're connected with me, I'm going to do whatever I can to see whatever you're doing grow as well.
Yep. And that's facts right there. Oh, Debbie, you said a few things. You said a few things that I got to go back to real quick. First of all, when you said that God will give you like a little snippet, like a little vision, that has happened to me only on two occasions. I can tell you, it was once in about 2019 when my mom was staying with me. We were living in Keller, and I had this vision that I was standing on stage, and there was like millions of people in the audience, and I was speaking, and I told my mom, I said, Mom, I said, I'm going to be a speaker, and I said, I don't know what I'm going to be talking about, but there's going to be millions of people in the audience. And
Wow.
it scared the daylights out of me. This has not happened yet, but I can see it already starting to manifest, right?
Right. Right.
That time, and then one other time, it was in 2021. I was in my closet. I had just got done praying, and all of a sudden I got this vision, and it was kind of like I was in it. It was like there was a bunch of noise, like a bunch of people talking, a bunch of people around me, and I was signing books, and I was just
Wow.
like, and it was so overwhelming that when I came out of it, I was talking to my husband like, babe, it was too many people. Like, it was too much. Like, I
Wow.
was scared when I seen it. It was so much. And so it's like God will give you those little snippets, and then it gets you excited. Like, okay, God, but what am I going to be on stage talking about?
Yeah.
What book am I going to write? But then now I know, okay, I'm going to be writing a book. So now as ideas start to come to me, I'm like, oh, let me put this in my journal because this is going to be a part of my book. Right.
Right. Right. And okay, the last thing I want to talk about, and I think I'm learning, I'm going through it, and again, I try to be as transparent as possible because we all real people. Y'all got to have some really ride or die friends. You
Whew.
got to have some ride or die people that you can go to, no judgment, and they will pray for you. They will guide you. They will love on you. And I'm going to be honest, like I have been dealing with some friendship stuff lately that I've just been like, oh my gosh, I want to go back to the Deba pettiness and be like, man, I can't believe you just did this to me. But I'm working on it. Again, I am working on it. But I will tell you, I had a situation that happened to me last week. I don't want to go into detail with it, but it was one of my friends, blah, blah, blah. And then fast forward to now. God not only has blessed me with more than I could ever imagine in friendship, that is not just surface level friendship, like, oh yeah, let's take a picture for the gram, but someone that I can call offline and be like, I am crying, I am not in a good place right now, can you be with me, can you pray with me? And I don't even have to say pray, they'll just pray for me. That is powerful because life is tough. And I don't care how much money you have in your bank account. I don't care what life brings you. I don't care if all your kids are great. Things are going to happen. The storm is going to come. But when you are in that storm, you don't need 35 friends. You need about one, two, three solid ones that have your back, that you know, like, hey, we arming each other and we're going to go through this storm together. And that is so powerful. And I am beyond blessed to know I have a friend, a rock like Tilisa. Like we had so many like ugly girl tear moments. But I tell you what, like I don't take that for granted. I know we're on this podcast, but there's genuine friendship and there's genuine love and care. And you need that in these storms.
Oh man, Deborah, don't get me emotional, okay? Because we're not going there. But when you know that you have somebody that you can go to, because this entrepreneurial world, it is not for the weak.
Mm-mm.
um, it's lonely. I expressed that to Deba. There's a lot of lonely days. There's a lot of things that go on in the business that I can't necessarily call my mom up, you know,
Yeah,
and tell her about. And to know that I can go to you, and not only can I go to you with those things, but I can also go to you and you're going to give me a perspective, a God perspective. That's big
that's
because everybody has their opinion, right?
right.
I don't need everybody's opinion. I'm on this earth for a very specific reason, so it's very important to me that I'm connected with people who are aligned with the same creator that I serve. And just to know that I have that, I haven't always had that. That is just like that's a manifestation. I have it
Yeah,
in my journal from 2 years ago. God
right.
bless me with a friend who has A, B, C, and D.
Mm,
I can pull up the journal.
wow.
So um, if you don't have that person in your life yet, don't settle.
Don't settle. Keep praying because you never know when they are, and they may be closer than you could ever imagine.
Yeah, they could be closer than you. Oh man, Deborah, that's so true. That is so
Yeah.
true. And you know what? I'll say this last thing too. Um, when Deborah and I met on some business stuff. I purchased Deborah's course. After I purchased Deborah's course, I invited Deborah to come and speak at my conference. And then from then on, it's only been about giving each other more exposure and giving each other more credibility,
Yeah.
and to just have a friend like that, somebody who's gonna not only look out for you spiritually, but they also looking out to make sure that we're making money together too. You
And
guys, it's worth waiting for the right friendship. It really, really is.
absolutely. Absolutely. So before we leave you on the podcast, we want to just share with you, pretty much like Talisa had mentioned, if there's a dream, if there's a vision, if there is something that God keeps nudging you and keeps telling you you need to do, I want you to understand that that vision is not just for you. That vision is for when you say yes, you're saying yes to the lives on the other side of that. And understanding, like, don't keep that dream to yourself because that's selfish. And the world needs you to step into your dream. The world needs you to step into your own because there's true lives on the other side of it. And I just kind of think about your obedience is going to open and create success and create joy for somebody else. So don't keep your dreams to yourself. It's not about a selfish move. It's not even about you.
It's
God is
not.
using you as a vessel to step into whatever you need to do for the lives of other people that you're going to change.
And don't, and oh, that was so good, Deba. And don't worry about what other people think about you pursuing your dream. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't worry about what your mama think. Don't worry about what your cousin and your sister think. Don't worry about what your old coworkers think. Because guess what? At the end of the day, they're not the ones that God gave this vision to. They're not the ones. And trust me, and I think ET said it. ET said it on his last episode of the Secrets to Success podcast. He said, the moment that you stop caring what everybody else thinks is the moment that people will start honoring you.
Woo, that's a word.
That's when
Man.
people will start honoring. The moment that you stop caring, tell your story, talk about your failures, because guess what else can they say about you if you're already saying it to the world? People are going to be
Yes.
inspired by you, right? But you can't worry about what everybody else has to say or what they think. You've got to walk out on faith, and you've got to trust in yourself, and then watch everybody else that you thought didn't like you, or they said something about you. Watch them coming to you with honor and praise and love.
Yes.
That
God will
part.
make your enemies your footstool. And you don't
Okay.
say that in the word just to be saying something. And that
They
is
don't.
real.
It's
That
real
is
stuff.
real.
And even if they don't want to see, they're going to
They're
see.
going to see because you're going to keep winning and you're going to win regardless.
Yeah.
And be so good that they cannot ignore you. I'm telling you this because I'm in that moment. Be so good that they cannot ignore you. And at the end of the day, you stay humble and you give God all the praise.
Whew. Give God all the praise. Man, Devin, that was good. Oh my goodness. Well, you guys, I'm so glad that we got to kind of fill you guys in on our past weekend. It was powerful. If you didn't take anything from this message, believe in yourself and go after your dreams, regardless of what, who, when, whatever. Go after your dreams. God will cover the rest. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Apple Podcast. Always feel free to like, comment, and share. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.